MuppetVision 3D.
Jim Henson's MuppetVision 3D. Get a taste for unique fun that bubbles over with excitement. It's a sensation that will blow you away and shower you with humor.
Rockets away!
For the finest in wildly wacky, explosive entertainment, Jim Henson's MuppetVision 3D.
We surrender! We surrender!
Only at the Disney MGM Studios theme park.
Starring moi!
In June of 2025, the beloved Hollywood Studios attraction, MuppetVision 3D, shut down. While most parkgoers and Disney adults rejoiced over the new and shiny coming to take over the courtyard, longtime fans of the Muppets and Henson's work grieved over the loss of such a well-made and heartfelt attraction. But how did we get here? How did the Muppets come to Hollywood Studios, and how did their presence in Disney become reduced to just two Skyliner cars? That's what I'm here to answer today. But to do so, we have to step back in time, not to the production in the 1990s, but the late 1980s. In the late 1980s, Jim Henson was in talks with the Disney company to broker a deal that would bring the Muppets into the Disney parks. This would also allow Disney to distribute Jim Henson Productions, all of their movies, TV shows, etc. This aspect of distribution channels would help expand the reach of the Muppets, especially to families. This is why Henson sought after this deal. He believed that it would allow Disney, with Michael Eisner as CEO at the time, to handle the business aspects so he could focus on the creative aspects of his job, something that he had always aimed to get back to. Part of these negotiations involved bringing the Muppets to the newly opened Hollywood Studios, Disney MGM Studios at the time, which opened in Disney World on May 1st of 1989. Jim Henson and Walt Disney Imagineering struck up a partnership to produce a Muppet-based theme park land. As part of this, Henson was eager to innovate in stereoscopic 3D and interactive effects. The attraction's concept emerged from joint show-and-tell sessions focused on how far they could push guest engagement. Henson was an innovator at heart, always looking to try something new and push the technology of puppeteering. He saw this as the perfect opportunity to try something new. As seen in this Tumblr comment under an image of Michael Eisner, Jim Henson, and Kermit the Frog at the official announcement of the Muppets coming to Disney MGM, many believed that this was the start of the downfall of the Muppets in the current day. Eisner seemed to have a Midas touch at Disney at the time. If Midas touch meant that he somehow made everything he touched worse than before, yet also creating a renaissance at the same time. Yet, MuppetVision is the one thing that came under Michael Eisner's leadership that is actually good and long-lasting at the parks. One of many. While in negotiations with Disney, Mark Eads, the lead producer, and Billy Prady, the writer, started to structure the storyline for MuppetVision, a pre-show with fan favorites leading to the main 3D performance, featuring Kermit guiding the audience through Muppet Studios. The project would be a co-production between Walt Disney Imagineering and Jim Henson Productions. Production and filming of the attraction footage began in January of 1990, and filming took place in Soundstage 3 at Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. This is one of the rare instances that the Muppets filmed outside of London or New York City. The attraction combined 3D film, audio animatronics, live puppetry, and theatrical effects like bubbles, smoke, water, lighting, projection, and even fans and vacuum effects. Henson's enthusiasm for technology, one of his obsessions along CGI, drove these aspects of the attraction forward. Though deeply rooted in puppetry, he viewed MuppetVision 3D as a new frontier. A highlight of this production and byproduct was the addition of Waldo C. Graphics, the Muppets' first fully digital character created by Pacific Data Images, performed in real time by Steve Whitmire on a motion capture rig and re-rendered for that sharp 3D effect.
Now, normally, Steve Whitmire, one of our chief puppeteers, is operating this guy, but I'll just do it to demonstrate it. And over here we have Rex Grignon, who is our computer animator. Okay, and what Rex is doing is he's taking these moves that I'm doing with my hand and converting it into Waldo on the screen there, see?
Neat!
And let me just say, I hate this man. I know that Waldo is meant to be chaotic and cause a whole lot of things to happen, but no offense to Steve Whitmire, a great puppeteer, I hate this character's voice. It truly is grating. It grates me so much.
I'm Waldo, the spirit of 3D!
With the addition of new filming techniques came unique and frequent challenges for the crew to overcome. The process to create 3D film required two noisy cameras placed side by side. These would often overwhelm the sound recordings and jam. This led to post-production having an extensive amount of ADR, or post-dubbing. Jim Henson personally recorded all Kermit dialogue before falling ill, and this unfortunately would be his last time portraying the iconic frog. This unfortunately is where tragedy struck, a death whose grief is still felt to this day. On May 16, 1990, at the age of 53, Jim Henson passed away from complications of pneumonia. Following his passing, 2 memorial services were held, both of which featured Muppet performances. While these were separate events, in hindsight, most remember them as one event. Both were open to the public, with instructions made by Henson in 1986 that no one in attendance should wear black. It was a celebration of his life. One service was held in New York City, the other in London. This was to accommodate the number of Muppet performers, staff, and friends from both cities where Henson had done a majority of his work. Both services included performances, hymns, Bible readings, as well as a performance of It's Not Easy Being Green by Big Bird, with a closing song of Just One Person. Excerpts of letters from Henson to his children, written just 4 years before, were also read, with Henson writing, "Please watch out for each other, and love and forgive everybody. It's a good life, enjoy it." Following the shock of Jim Henson's death, the agreement in principle for Disney to acquire Jim Henson Productions fell through. However, the production of MuppetVision 3D and the construction of the theater in the streets of America were almost complete. Frank Oz, Henson's close friend and collaborator, took over directing the production. Under his direction, new scenes with Bean Bunny were added, and the final cut of the film was finished at Skywalker Ranch, George Lucas's workplace in California. The construction and design of the theater was intended to mimic the original Muppet Show set, all while implementing the in-theater effects and projector area, manned by an animatronic Swedish chef. The theater included several animatronic versions of Muppet characters, including Statler and Waldorf, who heckle the show and provide commentary, the Swedish chef who operates the projector and goes toe-to-toe with Walter C. Graphic in the final show, and finally Bean Bunny, who runs away mid-show and is found in one of the theater boxes. The orchestra is played by a set of animatronic penguins, and there are arrows that appear during the final and retract at the end. The attraction opened on May 16, 1991. It opened as a tribute to Jim Henson on the 1-year anniversary of his death. Coinciding with this opening, Jim Henson Productions, now run by Henson's children and closest collaborators, came to an agreement to license the Muppet characters to Disney. The attraction was praised upon opening, and the heart and care put into the show was evident, even through the pre-show and queue areas. The pre-show area is full of references to the Muppets and creators who worked on the show, with little gags and jokes all around. One example of this is the net of Jell-O that's hanging there. When I first saw it, I was so confused by it, but I thought it was funny regardless. After my trip, I looked it up, and the Jell-O is a pun, funny enough, and a tribute to the original Mouseketeer, Annette Funicello. The pieces of Jell-O are suspended in a net, and when said aloud, a net full of Jell-O sounds like Annette Funicello. It's a reference to her name, and it's so goofy. One of my favorites is a screen towards the entrance of the pre-show room that shows Muppet parodies of Disney posters. My favorite of these was a spoof of the Tron movies called Prawn, featuring Pepe the King Prawn. The show was immersive, viewed as a fully loaded Muppets experience that provided entertainment for park guests of all ages, while minor changes occurred to the update exterior areas of the courtyard, most notably happening in tangent to the opening and edition of Galaxy's Edge. The show itself stayed the same for the 34 years that it was operating. And now, Felt History presents a slightly brief but accurate description of the plot of MuppetVision 3D, its queue, its pre-show. So, before guests enter the pre-show or the theater, they go through a queue which is themed to Muppet Labs, where guests pass a reception desk with a note that says, "Be back in 5. The key is under the mat," with a real key in the concrete under the mat. From there, guests pass through several doors with department names on them, each with a different joke or pun, including the Department of Artificial Reality. Under that, quote, "This is not a door." Once through the hall, the guests enter into the pre-show room, which is dressed to look like the backstage of the theater. They grab a pair of the 3D glasses from crates at the front of the room, and cast members urge guests to gather as close to the front as possible. Hanging from the ceiling among the props are sets of 3 screens placed in boxes. There are 12 in total. and these show the pre-show while a large clock to the right counts down until it's time to enter the theater. The pre-show begins with a construction crew trying to hang Kodak signs, changed to MuppetVision 3D in 2013 when Kodak dropped their sponsorship. And one large MuppetVision title card is hanged as well. Scooter supervises the preparation. He deals with the technical difficulties. Once they are dealt with, a painter comes on screen and paints an underwater scene with fish. A diver accidentally pulls the plug, drains all the water and most of the fish. The next scene shows Fozzie trying to gather the penguins to get ready in the orchestra. He gets a few in the right direction when they go the wrong way. Also, he's holding off a chicken who is supposed to stay on the other side of the road. Ha ha ha. Only to learn a good joke after the chicken told him why she crossed the road and goes off to tell it to the penguins. Scooter attempts to get the cast together and show an order, but he's constantly interrupted by the cast. He gets the audience's attention with help from Rizzo. They then tell everybody to step as forward and as close together as possible. Rizzo then tells the guests to get real close for research on deodorant strength. Haha. And at this point, a cast member will get on the sound system to repeat what Scooter and Rizzo said, urging the guests to move closer to the front to make room. Rizzo leaves, then Scooter states that they are ready to start the show. Fozzie interrupts, looking for Kermit while they trying to present his musical act, the 3 Ds, Dorothy, Dina, and Max, who is sent by the union to fill in for 6 Debbie. They leave, and Bean Bunny tries to help Miss Piggy prep for her musical number, but despite Scooter's warning to not interrupt her, is karate chopped across the room by her. In the following scene, Gonzo sends Scooter to answer the phone. When Scooter is gone, Gonzo tells the audience that the Muppets don't have a phone, and he presents his act, my personal favorite, tap dancing with a vase of flowers on his head. Fozzie gets the Penguin Orchestra to the stage before Sam Eagles gives the guests a safety spiel. Gonzo then tells Sam that Mickey Mouse is in the building. An excited Sam introduces Mickey, only to see that it's just Rizzo dressed as Mickey Mouse, prompting Sam to force him and Gonzo, who also said that Donald Duck was in the back with him, to leave. After apologizing for the interruption, Sam then tells guests to move down in the rows and not stopping in the middle. And don't wear your 3D glasses while walking to avoid tripping. He is also hindered once again by Gonzo as he demonstrates to the guests how they will trip if they have their glasses on. After being told by Scooter that the show's almost ready, Sam tells the audience that the performers will enter the theater before they are admitted. He then tells the performers to enter in an orderly fashion to provide an example for guests, but then gets run over by a stamp of Muppets as they proceed to do so, with the guests following in. Now, mind you, all this happens before the actual show in a 10-minute pre-show. The show starts with Statler and Waldorf in their usual boxes, putting on their glasses and heckling the audience. This is when the audience is told to put on their 3D glasses. A penguin orchestra rises up, tunes and plays a fanfare, leading into the opening. Gonzo appears behind a door, pushing a stick labeled 3D towards the audience to have a generic 3D effect. Kermit the Frog appears and welcomes the audience to the show. He then gives the audience a tour of Muppet Studios, where many of the Muppets are preparing for their segments in the show to follow. Many 3D effects are performed at this point. Kermit then informs the guests that the Swedish chef is in charge of the projector, which is located on the wall behind the audience. He also introduces the upcoming acts, including a song by Miss Piggy and a musical finale by Sam. At this point, Kermit is interrupted by Fozzie, who performs a series of, quote, cheap 3D tricks, like a noisemaker, a can of springs, and a flower that sprays water. Statler and Waldorf heckle Fozzie, telling him that his act is not even funny in 3D. Kermit then takes the audience to a secret laboratory and introduces Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and his assistant Beaker. However, Bunsen and Beaker are unable to control their newest invention, a fully computer-generated Muppet called Waldo Seagraphic. Waldo proves to be uncontrollable and wreaks havoc in the lab. Bunsen tells Beaker to use the lab's Inflomatic to deactivate Waldo, but after he does so, instead of being deactivated, Waldo explodes into smaller versions of himself. These are projected on the walls of the theater. Bunsen then tells Beaker to use the lab's vacuum cleaner to suck up all the Waldos, but accidentally sucks up the entire lab, leaving them in a blank space. All but one Waldo is sucked up, and realizing that he is free, he shapeshifts into a taxicab and drives away. Kermit then reappears and tells the audience that the lab was sucked up. Fozzie returns and attempts to demonstrate his flying pie, but it malfunctions and hits him in the face. Kermit then introduces Miss Piggy's musical rendition of Dream a Little Dream of Me. Bean attempts to assist Miss Piggy by using various props to add 3D effects, including bubbles blown from a bubble maker to add realism. Real soap bubbles are blown into the ceiling of the theater. But Miss Piggy gets annoyed at him for ruining her act, and Bean then gives her a rope for a water skiing finale. Then a boat pulls Miss Piggy into the pond and out of the scene. A frustrated Sam sends Bean away. Bean then meets Waldo. They leave the film together, running away. Gonzo sees Bean and Waldo leaving and goes to find Kermit. Gonzo gathers Kermit and Frosty to look for Bean, and Sweetums, who is a live full-bodied Muppet in the theater, comes out into the audience to search for him, having already done so on screen. With help from the audience, he finds Bean on the balcony across from Statler and Waldorf on the left side of the theater. He explains why he ran away and agrees to stay if he can help in the finale. Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo decide to let Bean shoot off the fireworks. Kermit then introduces the finale with a Toy Soldier marching band playing patriotic music. During their performance, Waldo bounces on their heads, and one of the tuba players gets his head stuck inside. Since he can't see, he runs into people, causing them to fall down. Sam then tells Bean to shoot off the fireworks. To show off, Waldo shapeshifts into a rocket and zooms around Miss Piggy, who is dressed like the Statue of Liberty, and he accidentally tears her skirt off. Waldo then plummets into the Penguin Orchestra, causing smoke to rise. Sweetum reappears and tells the Swedish chef to stop the projector. He then puts the fire out with water, which infuriates the penguins, and they decide to retaliate with a cannon. After Sweetums tells the audience to duck, the penguins fire their cannon and accidentally hit the projector. The Swedish chef then tries to destroy Waldo, who believes he destroyed the film, and is now all alone on a blank screen, by firing a gun at him. After missing several times, the Swedish chef decides to use a real cannon in the theater. This causes an explosion as the theater blows up, tearing a hole in the screen as well as revealing some bricks and sheetrocks through the main theater, and revealing what is on the other side of the screen, guests at the Disney park. Statler and Waldorf, now hiding in their box, hold up white flags and surrender. Kermit then appears on the back of a fire engine through the hole to apologize for the chaos. He then bids the audience farewell and the curtains close. Waldo appears one last time and shapeshifts into Mickey Mouse so nobody would recognize him. However, he shapeshifts back into his true form as a vacuum sucks him up. Bean comments on what a cute ending the show was as the curtains on his balcony close. Statler asks Waldorf what he thought of the show. He asks Statler if they have enough time to go to the bathroom before the next show starts. He replies that they cannot because, quote, they're bolted to the seats. Then the curtains on their balcony close, concluding the show, and a cast member thanks the audience for coming while reminding them to turn their 3D glasses into the bins outside of the theater. And that is the entirety of MuppetVision. While answering the question, is MuppetVision gone from the theme park for good, Brian Henson said, they wrapped it up in the way Disney does, where everything is recorded for historical purposes and that all the animatronics are packed away perfectly. So theoretically, they could bring it back if they wanted to. From the get-go, they designed it so 500 people could go through every 25 minutes. It was the most highly experienced attraction I think that Disney has ever made. I am very sad to see it getting wrapped up. During this 34-year run, Disney went through several changes and shakeups. After the original deal with Henson fell through following his death, Disney licensed the characters from the Henson Company up until 2004, where the Muppets were sold for $75 million. Following this, Eisner stepped down from his position at the company. Bob Iger took over as CEO from 2005 to 2020. From there, Bob Chapek would serve as CEO from 2020 to 2022. Which would end with him being dismissed from his job due to low earnings performance. From there, Iger would return to the role, which would lead to several large changes in the company as well as the parks. Disney reported on their fourth quarter and full year earnings for the fiscal 24 year that they had a record revenue and operating income for the full year. The domestic parks and experience operating income increased in quarter four, and this was comparable to the attendance to the prior year. International experiences operating income declined in quarter four, and to quote CEO Bob Iger, this was a pivotal and successful year for the Walt Disney Company, and thanks to the significant progress we've made, we have emerged from a period of considerable changes and disruptions, well positioned for growth and optimistic about our future. As a result of our strategies and our focus on managing our business for both the near and long term, we are differentiating ourselves from traditional competitors, leveraging the deepest and broadest set of entertainment assets in the industry to drive attraction returns and further advance our goals. All of this word salad is to say that the Disney Company is experiencing a period of growth. This is reflected This is immediately reflected in their announcement of park expansions. Disney parks reached record profits in 2024, and the company is trying to top that for 2025 and 2026. The company is changing long-held attractions at the parks to create new ones to draw new visitors, rather than prioritizing the preservation of fan favorites. This is why MuppetVision is being replaced with Monsters, Inc., and the Rivers of America with Cars Land, and the controversial, but in my opinion for the better, Splash Mountain conversion into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. In November 2024, Disney announced that MuppetVision 3D would close at Hollywood Studios alongside the rest of Grand Avenue. This closure would make way for a Monsters, Inc. themed area. This closure was inevitable as Disney leadership in the current decade is more concerned with pushing IPs in the park rather than sticking with original design. Hollywood Studios was meant to be what the name implies, a park designed to look like a functional movie studio, and that's why the Muppets worked so well. The Muppets are all about making movies. Pushing them out to implement Monsters, Inc. not only highlights Disney's underappreciation of the Muppets, but it also shows the current management doesn't care about the feel of the parks anymore, rather just pushing IPs and thrills to make profit. During the announcement, Disney leadership stated that they were having creative conversation and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future. Brian Henson would later confirm that, as seen in the previous quote, to coincide with the announcement of the closure, Disney announced that Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith would be rethemed to the Muppets. The date of the refurbishment is unknown at this time. While Michael Eisner is hated by Disney fans, I will forever have a problem with Bob Iger for his decisions for the park in the last few years. On June 8th, 2025, fans flocked to experience the attraction one more time that weekend. The final show was a full house attended by several fans as well as Jim Henson's daughter, Heather Henson. While attending the final show, upon observing the crowd, Heather Henson said, "Muppet fans are the best." Additionally, Steve Whitmire was in attendance the closing weekend, and he was seen interacting with fans and admiring fan-made puppets. Currently, MuppetVision is closed. The project was significant and important to the history of the Muppets, as well as Jim Henson's legacy. Fans mourn the loss of this beloved attraction, as it was the last time we saw Jim Henson as Kermit on screen. It was the last performance, the last passion project. Another significant part of this production that's not talked about as much is that it's the last performance from Muppet performer Richard Hunt. Hunt was one of the main 5 performers on The Muppet Show and the original puppeteer of Scooter. He performed several characters across Henson's productions, including Scooter, Janice, Statler, Beaker, Sweetums, Gladys the Cow. He also performed Forgetful Jones, Placido Flamingo, Don Music, Gladys the Cow, and Sully. And then he was the performer for Elmo before Kevin Clash on Sesame Street. Hunt was a talented performer and the first openly gay puppeteer for the Henson Company at the time, where the gay community was being attacked by the stigma around the AIDS virus. On January 7, 1992, Hunt died of AIDS-related complications, and his memorial service was held at Cathedral of St. John the Divine on February 2nd of 1992, the same church that held Henson's funeral. Following his death, the Muppets' Christmas Carol was dedicated in memory of him, and it's important to remember Hunt as he was a talented performer, and he paved the way for others in a time where it was hard for the gay community to be understood. And MuppetVision was his last performance, and not a lot of people know that. Closure of MuppetVision 3D serves as a reminder that creativity and care in an attraction is valuable to the Disney company, but only until they find something more valuable that can cash in on people's nostalgia. This is a problem with mega corporations holding the rights over nostalgic shows and movies that hold the public conscious. Under capitalism, they can use our association with these movies and show to sway how we spend our money and benefit their corporation. Will this back and forth between Disney and fans of their products ever stop? It's unlikely. What we can do is keep pretending and keep believing, holding a love and a care for these projects that the companies that own them could never have. The love and care for the characters, worlds, and projects like MuppetVision is how they live on far past the expiration date given by a CEO in a boardroom.